Let me show you something that shocked me. I ran the actual numbers. Not opinions, not guesswork, the real math of what happens if you put your money into the S&P 500 versus buying a rental property over the next 10 years. And the truth is, the winner is not the one most people expect. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what happens over a 10-year period using real data, today's interest rates, and real rental numbers. And if you watch until the end, you're going to see the one factor that changes the entire outcome. And most people forget to even consider it. So let's dive in. I'm Ernest and I help beginners understand money, investing, and real estate. I went from making $8 an hour working in retail to build a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio. And today, I'm walking you through a real data-driven comparison of stocks versus real estate so you can make smarter investing decisions. Okay, so here's what we're going to compare over the next 10 years. Investing $500 a month into the stock market, or to be more specific, into the S&P 500 index fund, and investing in a $400,000 rental property with 5% down. We will consider the property's cash flow, principal paydown, tax benefits, and appreciation. And the goal for this video is to find out what actually works for your personal situation. All right, so let's start with stocks. We're gonna look at investing $500 a month into the S&P 500 for the next 10 years. But first, let's define what the S&P 500 index is. The S&P 500 is basically a list of the 500 biggest and most important companies in the United States, all bundled together into one investment. Think of it like this. Instead of trying to guess which single stock will win, you buy a tiny piece of 500 different companies at once. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, JP Morgan, Costco, Home Depot. When people say they invest in the stock market, they usually mean they're buying an S&P 500 index fund. And it's popular because it grows over time, it's diversified, it's simple, and it's passive. And it tends to beat the most individual investors who try to pick stocks. Historically, the S&P 500 has an average return of 10%. So in 10 years, your total contributions are going to be $60,000 and your portfolio value is $99,931, or let's call it $100,000, which means your portfolio grew by $40,000. That is a 67% increase in value, which is absolutely amazing. And there are also other benefits to investing in stocks. Number one, it's super easy to start. You don't need a ton of money. You don't need to build a team of people managing your investment, and you don't need a high credit score. And you can start with $500 from your phone in just a few minutes. Number two, it's truly passive. Once you invest in a broad index fund like S&P 500, you don't have to worry about tenants or maintenance. The value of your investment grows and dips on its own. Investing in stocks is a very hands-off way to wealth building. Number three, high liquidity. Liquidity is basically how fast and how easily you can turn your investment into cash without losing a lot of its value. If an asset is considered liquid like stocks, you can sell it quickly at its true price. If an asset is not liquid, it takes time, paperwork, and negotiations to turn it into cash like real estate. With stocks, if you need money, you can sell it instantly. Just hit sell on your investing platform and you can access the money right away. This makes stocks perfect for emergencies, short-term goals, or building an early safety net. Number four, it's great for dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is investing the same amount of money on a regular schedule, say every week, every month, or every paycheck. No matter what the market is doing, instead of trying to guess the perfect moment to buy. Some months you buy when the prices are high, and some months you buy when the prices are low. Over time, this smooths out the bumps and helps you avoid emotional market timing decisions. You don't have to actually time the market. You just invest automatically, and over time, it smooths out the ups and downs. It reduces stress and lets the magic of long-term compounding do its thing. Number five, historically strong performance. Over the long term, stocks, especially index funds, have returned approximately 8 to 10% annually. It's not the highest return, but it's proven and very consistent. Number six, index funds have very little fees. You're not paying contractors, property managers, insurance agents, or real estate agents. A low-cost index fund keeps almost all of your returns. It's simple, it works, and it's extremely reliable over long periods. In real estate, there are more things to consider than just returns. First, if you choose to self-manage the property, you will definitely have to deal with what we investors call the 3 T's of real estate: toilets, tenants, and termites. This means that you will have to deal with finding and managing tenants, coordinating repairs, and dealing with the day-to-day operations of being a landlord. And even with property managers, it's not as passive as stocks. Even with a property manager, you still have to make decisions, approve repairs, deal with turnover, and manage finances. Second, it requires upfront money. Even with low down payment options, you still need some money to purchase and maintain the property. Third, it's illiquid. If you need cash fast, you can't sell like you can with stocks. A full sale takes about 30 to 60 days, and you have to deal with the selling process like inspections and negotiations. So the question is, why do I and other real estate investors choose to invest in real estate? To answer that question, we're gonna have to look at the numbers. Now let's run the same 10-year window on a $400,000 rental property. We're going to assume 5% down, which is $20,000, 30-year fixed rate at 6.5%, property appreciation at 4%, and loan paydown from rents. All right, so let's break it down. Number one, cash flow. Cash flow varies by market. In many cities, a starter rental will cash flow about $50 to $300 a month in year one. So let's use an average of $200 a month in cash flow over 10 years. That is $2,400 a year or $24,000 in 10 years. Number two, loan paydown. In year one, your tenants are paying down about $4,500 of your loan. But in 10 years, you've paid down around $61,000. Number three, tax benefits. Depreciation on a $400,000 property might save you about $3,500 per year in taxes, depending on your income. Multiply that over 10 years and you're saving about $3,500 per year in taxes. And the last but definitely not the least, appreciation. If your $400,000 property appreciates at 4%, which is the national average appreciation rate for residential homes, your house is worth $592,000 in 10 years. That's $192,000 of growth just because you own the property. So now let's add it all up. Cash flow is $24,000. Loan paydown is $61,000. Tax benefits, $35,000. Appreciation, $192,000. For a total wealth gain of $312,000. And remember, you only put in $20,000 in down payment. Even if you factor in closing costs of about $12,000, that brings your total invested amount to $32,000. A $312,000 return on a $32,000 investment is an increase in net worth of a whopping $280,000 or an 875% return on your investment. Okay, so I know I went a little fast on these numbers, so if you want to watch a deeper dive into this analysis, click on this video or check out the link on the description below. Alright, so now that we've talked about the pros and cons of both sides, let's look at a side-by-side comparison between the two. So your initial investment in stocks is $500 a month or $60,000 in total in 10 years. While in real estate, your initial investment is $32,000, which is comprised of the $20,000 down payment and $12,000 in closing costs. The 10-year growth for stocks is $40,000 on your $60,000 initial investment, while the 10-year growth for real estate is $312,000 on your $32,000 investment. So the 10-year ROI in stocks is 67%, while the ROI in real estate is 875%. On stocks, there is not much hands-on work, while on real estate, it is much less passive. Stocks is more liquid, while real estate isn't. And for volatility, stocks is more liquid compared to real estate. So how does real estate outperform stocks so much? Earlier in this video, I mentioned that there is one factor that changes the entire outcome. And this is it. It's called leverage. Leverage means using someone else's money, usually the banks, to control a much bigger asset than you could ever buy with just your own cash. In real estate, that means a mortgage. And here's why it's such a big deal. If you invest $60,000 in the stock market, you only get the growth from your $60,000. But in real estate, if you invest the same $60,000 as a 20% down payment on a $300,000 property, you benefit from the growth of the entire $300,000, not just the $60,000 that you put in. And that's why a boring 4% appreciation on a house is actually a much more return on your money, because you're controlling a much bigger asset with a much smaller amount of cash. If you look at the numbers, it is very clear that real estate knocks it out of the park compared to stocks. So does it mean that you should only invest in real estate and forget about stocks? You might be surprised to hear this, but honestly, not necessarily. Real estate will build your net worth faster than almost anything else. But stocks still definitely serve a purpose in your wealth building journey. So my recommendation, do both, but in the right order. Build your capital through consistent savings and invest it in the stock market. Then, use that capital once you have enough in your investment account as a down payment for a rental property. Once you get some experience investing in stocks and real estate, you'll be able to determine the perfect blend for your goals personality, and risk appetite. Yeah, so I know that this is a hot topic for a lot of people. So what do you think? Do you invest only in stocks, real estate, or both? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear all of your perspective on this. And if nothing else, I would like to leave you with this thought. The next 10 years are going to pass by no matter what. The only question is whether you'll be in the exact same place financially or whether you'll have assets growing for you every single day. And if you want help figuring out which path makes the most sense for your situation, I do offer one-on-one coaching where we build that plan together. I'll drop a link in the description below if you want to learn more. And if this video helped, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.